Welcome to This Week in Sim Racing, September 23rd edition. I'm Jessica Lopez.
And I'm Sean Cole.
And this show is sponsored by iRacing,
where you can get 3 months for the price of one by heading over to our website and clicking on any of the iRacing banners you see there, and you can take advantage of that offer.
You sure can. So first up, we're going to talk about something that's probably the most popular topic online regarding racing games right now.
It's all over the internet. Everybody's going nuts, and that's F1 2011 by Codemasters.
Officially released here in North America first, and by the time that this show is out, will be available everywhere.
But we finally got the first release here in America.
Yep, and that's kind of awkward considering that F1 is more of a Euro.
You'd think they'd get it first, but we did, and that's on all 3 platforms, or PC, PS3, and Xbox. I mean, the first one, there were some bugs. I mean, let's face it, there were a few bugs. Some of them got fixed. There were still some complaints out there in the community, and I think they addressed a lot of the complaints, and now it's out there. So we'll find out what the community thinks this go around, but like you said, it's very pumped up.
And we have our copy here on the PC, and we will be reviewing it. We're gearing up for that as we speak. And in the meantime, you can catch some hot laps that we've put out and a crash compilation video, right?
Yeah, you can at least get a touch of the flavor, a little of the sound of the game. And again, you know how we do it. We don't want to push a review too quickly. We want to take our time. So we're getting some things out there that give you kind of a preview or a feel for it. And when we can get a good feel for it, we'll do a full review.
So speaking of the game, some new features for Formula One 2011 include multiplayer split screen, improved graphics and handling, the addition of a working safety car, and an extensive career mode.
Very cool.
And you also mentioned to me earlier that there's a ton of videos by someone else out there.
Yeah, Alan Boyston at VVV Automotive. He's done a handful of videos. I mean, to be honest with you, there are a lot of videos out there, so you can get a good feel. I mean, I think the real important thing is when you really get down to it, especially coming off of 2010, did they fix some of the issues, and how deep can we really get into it? So.
All right, well, we're going to move forward with some new content and mods that's out for our sim racers out there, starting with
Targa Florio, which is really cool. This is an old-time track that's been converted over for GT Legends, and it's very exciting. It's an iconic Italian track, and you have over 30 people that have put work into this track. It was actually released by Sky and Neil Yanni for GT Legends. Neil Yanni, we mentioned him just last week's show, actually.
We did.
It's 72-kilometer long track, and I mean, anybody who's been around racing a long time, they know Targa Florio, and just being able to get into some of these old cars and drive it like it was back in the day, I mean, that's a good feeling. So.
All right, another mod that's new since we put out the last This Week in Sim Racing is the V8 Factor for R Factor. And this was released back in March, but it's a new version, and it's by Team Orsum, or is that ORSM?
It's ORSM, but they are awesome.
Orsum. And the new version includes the 2010 and 2011 V8 Supercar Championship season, along with some community cars thrown in there. In addition, some visual tire changes. Drivers will now be able to see who is using sprint tires or indoor tires, and there's also improved headlights, now using the flare style, and some improvements to the physics. And there's a README file included with the mod to help you set up your real feel and get the most out of it. Those of you out there that already have the V8 Factor, you must deinstall it before you reinstall it.
Good advice there. You know what I like about this mod a lot? They're not even done with it. I mean, they released this one, sure, they're done with that, but they're going to keep going with it. There'll be more physics, there'll be more changes to it, there'll be more car sets from the past, giving you even more options in the future for it. So that's good stuff.
So get out there and deinstall and then reinstall or install if you don't already have that mod. All right, and iRacing has also made some announcements of a new car coming in 2012.
This is very exciting. The McLaren MP4, which is one of the all-time great sports cars of the world, something that I'm really excited about. And you know, it was through McLaren that iRacing actually got the Atlas software. So we've been doing the data acquisition and learning about what's going on with the car through that software. Now they've handed the keys over to a McLaren for scanning. It's going to be powered by a 3.8-liter bi-turbo engine, which is a ferocious combination. Another great thing is it's going to be a GT3 class car, which is really cool because it's going to put it close to the Ford GT and the Corvette that are already in iRacing, so maybe some very cool mixed class racing coming up.
I'm sure subscribers are looking forward to that McLaren as much as you are.
As much as I am.
All right, and some other new content out for Simbins Race 07, and that is the Hungaroring WTCC 2011. And this is based off a Hungarian championship, and this was originally created by E660 and MRK37 but since has been extensively modified to reflect the 2011 WTCC. It now has new trees, textures, revamping and UV mapping of the terrain, new trackside objects, the addition of trucks, ambulances, cranes, and light poles, and even a 3D crowd. The Hungaroring 2011 WTCC was created by Zerez 86, and it has 16 turns and is 4.3 kilometers long.
Little word of advice: when you're driving the track, you might not want to look at all those trackside objects. Keep your eye on the track. I don't know.
Maybe that's there on purpose to see how well one can concentrate.
With all that distraction.
Right. Okay, well, now that you guys are all caught up on the new content for the week, it's time for us to take our commercial break. And when we return...
Sim Rig of the Week?
Yep.
And Tamiya Nationals. Finally going to do a little recap on that.
We sure are. See you guys when we get back.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components as well as performance upgrading with optional parts allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
Welcome back, guys. It's time now for the Rig of the Week, taken straight from our forums once again. And this is by Brad Lewington of Australia. And it's his triple screen monitor rig. And it's actually his third attempt at making a triple screen rig and third and final attempt.
It's not going to be final. You're never done with the home built rig.
And what you're looking at here is triple screens mounted on gas lift stools, which allows Brad to be able to raise and lower the height of the screens at will. On his first two attempts at building the rig, he said he had many issues with breaking it down and putting it back together and realigning the screens at the same height, which he decided to mount them on the gas lift stools to fix that problem. He uses a Fanatec Turbo S wheel and Club Sport pedals mounted to a wheel stand, and he uses a real car seat that pulls up to that wheel stand. And in addition to all that, he even has a small monitor that he uses as a rear view mirror, which is pretty darn cool.
I completely agree.
Now he plays a lot of Forza and plans to get a good PC and endure in some iRacing in the near future. So far, third time has been a charm for him, and once again, thank you for sharing that with us. All right, we're gonna move on forward with a recap of Tamiya Nationals, which Sean and Darren and our good friend Terry went out to. I was unavailable that weekend, so I did not join them.
Yeah, a few people missed you. I think we told people you'd be there, and
we did, but I didn't go. Sorry about that, guys. But hey, they went, and since I wasn't there, and since we haven't done a recap yet, I figured I'd go ahead and pick Sean's brain about the Tamiya Nationals and see how it all went. So to my understanding, you guys had a booth out there to showcase sim racing and inside sim racing. So tell the viewers a little bit about that.
This is a really cool opportunity for us. I have for a long time, you know, whether it's a real life race or an RC racer, there's so many common things in all of our ways of racing. And I just thought this group would really dig sim racing, and maybe they didn't even know about it. So we set up a booth that was 10 feet by 20 feet, enclosed booth. We had iRacing, we had some GT5, we had some Dirt 3 running in there, and we had 4 different rigs running simultaneous, and just a constant flow of RC racers, some of them getting their first look at sim racing, and real good experience.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. All right, so more about the booth. Tell us about the feedback that you got and what kind of people went in there and what they thought and what was the response?
Well, we had people from, gosh, like 4 years old all the way up to God knows how old come in and try it out, all different types of people, and you know, this was an educated crowd. So I've seen sim racing at trade shows where the general public gets out there, and really, some people can't drive, I'm sorry. But these guys got in, and consistently, we saw some guys who should be sim racers. The other thing was, like, there was a group of the Tamiya pros, and they came in and they started keeping score and hot lapping, and it got a little competitive amongst that group as well. But again, they were really good, very talented drivers. They picked it up just like that.
And speaking of the guys, Tamiya guys and RC racers, I understand you guys went to visit the pits, and even Terry interviewed someone in the pits as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, and again, I've talked about the crossover and the way we go about racing. And these guys do what we do. They do it virtually through RC racing. And in the pits, it's the same thing. They're tuning these cars. They're working on caster. They're working on camber. They're working on gearing. And some things are the same and some things are different. Like overheating their motors is a concern. So they gear to not overheat their motors. We gear to use all the power of our motor. Same thing though, to not blow it up. So it's really cool, the amount of energy, the amount of practice, the whole mindset behind it when they get involved in RC racing.
An interview Terry did was with one of the drivers. Can we show the viewers a little bit of that?
Absolutely. Let him tell you what he does setting the car up.
How much time you guys spend about getting cars prepared in between sessions?
Maybe up to 30 minutes, depending on, you know, what went horribly bad in the last one.
Okay. Well, what's it entail usually? This is your basic maintenance.
Pull the motor out, lube it up, clean it up.
Okay.
In most classes, clean off the tires and put tire softs to soften the compound up, so you get, you know, a better bite right at the start of the race. Typically, the heat brings up the tire.
Okay.
Yep. So the sauce works good for the first 4 or 5 laps, and then it pretty much wears off, and then it's the tire doing the work. Depending on what the car's doing, you make adjustments to the chassis, suspension, springs.
Right on. How about your battery life? What do you get out of?
Batteries are pretty easy now with the lipos.
Okay.
You know, they're a little more dangerous because they will, you know, catch fire occasionally if you treat them wrong. But we used to spend a lot of time with batteries, and now it's pretty much you can almost run the same battery the entire day.
Wow. Now charging it or anything, or?
No, you charge it.
Okay.
You know, charging takes anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes depending on the capacity.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right, guys. I'll let you get back to work. What class are you in anyway?
Front-wheel drive, mini, and spec.
Really? All right.
All right, so on to the main event, the Tamiya Nationals, where 3 guys from that national get to go to Japan, right?
Right, absolutely.
How did that end? Tell us how that was. Was it exciting? How long it was? I mean, tell us a little about how it was watching the Tamiya Nationals.
This was really something. I mean, it was a 2-day event. You had a whole qualifying procedure. You had a bunch of different classes, and like you mentioned, 3 of them were qualified to go to Japan on Tamiya to face the world in these 3 different classes. But they did a whole qualifying procedure, then you had heat races, then you had your A main, your B main, and it was all kept on points. It was very structured, it was very exciting, and all day long you'd hear roars from the crowd when cool things were happening, and some of these battles for who got to go to Japan came down to the wire. I mean, literally the last race of the weekend was deciding who would come and who would go.
Patrick Collis right there.
I guess it was like some type of controversy, and I don't even know how it ended.
A little bit. I mean, if your car flips over, you're really dependent on the marshals to flip it over so it's on its wheels and you can go again. And the 2 cars competing for, like you said, the trip to Japan, both flipped over. And then it was a matter of which one got serviced from the marshal first, and that was right at the line. It was crazy. I mean, it was the kind of stuff you see and hear about in sim racing as well, and just to see it happen real life. I mean, that's the one different in RC racing, is they're all really right there.
All right, well, you guys also did some RC racing and competitive racing amongst yourselves.
Yes, this was a little side opportunity for us on this, and when the real racing had taken a break, they took the 3 Stooges, me, Darren, and Terry, and put us out there in 3 very underpowered cars, but none of us are pro RC racers. Darren and Terry both have a little experience RC racing way back when. I have never raced, but I've spent a lifetime of driving RC cars, and I cheated. I went down to the track a month ago and tested it out. So I kind of knew the track in advance. Anyway, we got up there and we had a great time doing a few different heat races, qualifying, doing the main event of our own, and I got real lucky. I had the fastest car there, but you know, Darren still beat me in one of the heats, even though I have a faster car. And then in the final, I had a big lead, but then I chose to sort of be a good sport and make a race of it, and then Darren kicked my butt. So
Darren won.
he ended up winning the whole event with a slower car, so sometimes the turtle beats the hare.
So once again, I'd like to apologize for me not being there to the gentleman that did go out to say hi to us. And there was quite a few, you mentioned there was about 3 of them, right?
Yeah, there was Chris, Eric, and Horace, who all came down as sim racers to see what we had there, meet us, watch some RC racing, and that was a great experience. I mean, guys maybe you raced against online or talked to on the forums, and getting to meet them in person is a real big privilege and something you don't get to do in sim racing every day.
All right, on that note, I guess that's going to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your Tamiya experience with us, and I guess that's going to wrap it up.
And thanks to Fred Medell at Tamiya for hooking that whole thing up. I mean, it was a great time. I mean, we just felt like he took good care of us. And
I think that was like one of the hottest weekends of the whole summer here in Southern California. I believe it was like almost 100 degrees or over 100 degrees.
It was pretty hot there. It was definitely hot.
But I'm glad you guys enjoyed yourself. Sounds like it was a very great time. That's going to do it for this edition of This Week in Sim Racing, September 23rd. And make sure you guys visit our website, InsideSimRacing.tv, and become a member there, where you can log into our forums and talk to us. And if you have any sim rigs you'd like to share with us, please post them in our forums. We'd love to see what you guys are working with.
And I'd like to add to that as well. I've been revamping the sim rig page of the website to show a lot of these sim rigs. So I've taken them out, and if you've missed some of the older ones, they're going to be there, and you can see those
Cool.
sim rigs as well.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Checkered flag is out, and so are we.
It's going to be a GT3 class car, which means it's going to put...
Sorry.
Sean's a cheater.